Welcome to your daily writing habit. If you are writing a book or thinking about it, or maybe you've started writing a book, but you need some help getting it done, you are in the right place. Good morning, everyone. I'm your host, Christine Whitmarsh. If you're looking for me online, look for Christine Inc., I-N-K, like that stuff we write with. Each day, I'm sharing with you the writing habits I've learned over my 20 years as a ghostwriter, book coach, and author. I have found that three things in particular have a huge impact on your success as an author, and they can even turn someone who barely sees themselves as a writer into a published book author. Those three things, my pillars here on the show, are writing fundamentals, productivity, and mindset habits. And once again, good morning, everyone, here today on Your Daily Writing Habit to talk about personal branding for authors is CEO and founder of BrandID, Rachel Gogos. Here's more about Rachel. Founder and CEO of BrandID, an agency that helps you build your brand and business on the web by aligning your profession with your soul's work. Former editor at the Wall Street Journal, United Nations, author of Build Your Brand, the soul-based guide to digital marketing. This is Rachel, and learn more about Rachel at thebrandid.com. I'll always put the link in the show notes. Welcome, Rachel. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Christine. So nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So I want to start with one of my favorite questions to ask people. Why do you love doing what you do so very much?
Oh, great question. This is a job, if I were to define it as a job, that I've held the longest on my resume. It's 14 years and counting. And I love it because I feel like I've just really found my sweet spot in life, which is working with people to help them figure out how to define their life essentially and create it the way they want when it comes to their profession. And I feel like our work, as a team, as a company, we build a lot of websites, we do a lot of copywriting, but ultimately it's to help people grow their businesses online. And I feel like that gives them freedom over time.
Love it. And how did you get into this business, especially the business of branding? What was your career path that led you here?
My career path was a very squiggly line, but I was an English major in undergrad. In grad school, I studied higher education administration because I had wanted to help kids figure out what to do with their lives. And as I was going through that program, I got really bitten by the bug of social and economic development, which is when I went to work at the United Nations, because education kind of fit within that social economic development area. And when I was working at the UN, the internet was just coming to be, and I was the youngest person in my department. And so because I had a writing background, I was always asked to do the internet related things. So creating a newsletter and working on the UN's first website, and essentially it became a lot of marketing tactics and writing press releases, writing speeches for the Secretary General, again, like just marketing communications related pieces. And so I started to learn about marketing, and I was really excited by it. After being at the UN for about 3 years, I went to journalism at the Wall Street Journal, again, tapping into my writing, but then I saw the power of the media firsthand, and again, how an angle and positioning could really create an outcome by what people read. So, essentially like more marketing, more communications work. So this path continued through a few other roles, one in city government, one at a internet consulting company as well. And by that point, the internet was full force, and I had dabbled in starting a company with some friends while living in New York City, which was an internet incubator. I went from there to a communications role, marketing role here in Pittsburgh, where I live today. And I remember when I was being interviewed for that job, one of the leaders of the organization looked at my resume and said, "How long do you think you'll be here before you start your own company again?" And I thought, how insightful. So that lasted 3 years, and I was getting really just bored in my job. I wasn't really feeling fulfilled. I had started having children, and I wanted more freedom in my life, but I also still wanted to be working. And so I read about personal branding in Time magazine, and the person who was one of the godfathers, I'd say, of the industry, was being interviewed in Time magazine. And I held on to this article for about 2 years. And then I took that gentleman, his name is William Arruda, I took his certification program in personal branding and learned how to do the strategy behind personal branding. And having already worked with the internet for so many years, it was just a natural progression for us to add web services and copywriting to our list of offerings.
Awesome. And yeah, you mentioned businesses, especially as your target audience, and you work primarily with businesses. So what kind of services do you, and results and stories and exciting things do you provide for them?
Yeah, we essentially build their online presence. So that most often looks like a website. Again, there's so much strategy that goes into the copywriting of a website, whether it's a services page and for a business, or if we're working with a consultant or an author of some sort. You know, a lot of times those folks are also speakers. And so we are very skilled at writing great book pages and speaking pages as well, to position the person in their area of expertise, and also to provoke, you know, a call to action, kind of a next step from a person consuming the content on the website. And we also build membership sites and courses. We do content marketing as well for many of our clients. After we've built their platform, they need help amplifying what they do, and don't always have time to do the writing. So we keep our same team engaged, and we've already tapped into a person's voice. So we continue to amplify what they're doing behind the scenes.
Awesome. And, you know, for those of my listeners listening who are in the world of business, I know that's quite a few of you all, what value have you personally seen in your clients writing a book as part of their personal brand?
It's a huge authority builder, right? If someone has enough know-how in a particular area and can put it all in a book, it is such a, I think personally, a stamp of approval, or a just a mark within their own marketing efforts and their own content, you know, their own content library of sorts, right? Like, it's their intellectual property. Essentially, a book just really helps them stand out. Not everybody has the perseverance and the vision to write a book. And for the people that do, it can so easily be spun into courses or membership sites, or, you know, keynote speeches or workshops, the content in a book. So I think it's really just a foundational piece to somebody who's really looking to build their personal brand and stand out in a particular subject matter.
And I love that you mentioned all the things that it can spin off to, because I get this question quite a bit from business people, you know, what should I do first, like cart or horse, you know, should I do the products and the courses and everything, or write the book? And I was like, I'll definitively write the book, because the deep dive and vision work, and, you know, I think we talked about my book blueprint process and everything like that. Just the amount of work and depth that you have to put into a book, that will kind of cross the T's and dot the I's of all the rest of the things, the smaller products. So I feel like when people are like, they're trying to do all the little products and then they think about doing the book, it's like, you just do the book, all those other things will fall into place.
I also think I totally agree, Christine. I also think a book is a great marketing lead magnet, right? Is if most people if they go through a traditional publishing route, a book is typically not a big money maker, but if they do go the self-publishing route, it actually can be a decent money maker. But if you use it as a lead magnet to attract people to some higher ticket offerings you may have, that can also work very effectively.
Absolutely. And I want to switch gears a little bit, given the nature and main audience of my show, which is authors of all sorts, not just business ones. Would you be able to offer us some personal branding tips that would be useful for just like standalone authors who may or may not have their own business?
Yeah, absolutely. So standalone tips in terms of building their visibility and building their audience. Yeah, I would say use the content in your book, some of the content in your book, repurpose it into social media posts. Only be active on social media where your potential target market may be, or readership, right? If you're not necessarily selling services, but where your readership would be. Use it almost like breadcrumbs, right? Like to lead back to your book site. and try to incite a sale that way. It can also be used in blog posts as, again, like another way to use it as a way to market and grow your personal brand. You could use a chapter as a lead magnet if you have a website. It could be, an opt-in, like you get the first chapter of my book if you give me your email address. That could also be a very effective tool. You can use your book also as a way to get some press appearances, whether on television or radio. I think radio is still very much alive in local markets, or even for print. I think a lot of local newspapers, like little community papers, and libraries, actually. I know our local libraries, we've got a pretty robust system of local libraries here in Pittsburgh, but the libraries are always inviting authors in to talk about their book and just kind of a behind the scenes. And I also think that's a really nice way to build a personal brand on a local level. So I would say first, map out your goals in terms of building your personal brand. Like, do you want to be on the TEDx stage, or do you want to grow your appearances more on a local level? And then depending on, again, like where your goals are, figuring out some tactics to like build up to those goals is always very effective.
Yeah, and what I love there is just kind of like the vision of the goals that you just listed, because so many authors, I think, are still, even, where we are now with so many books out there and so many brands, they're still kind of just like really like tunnel vision focused on book sales. And there are so many more opportunities, even for fiction authors, if you use your imagination and come up with a creative content strategy. I like what you said about breadcrumbs there. And also about, like using that content in your book. There's so many authors that they stare at the blank little box on Facebook or whatever and say, what the heck should I say today on social media? And it's just like, you have an entire book. You could literally flip to any page of your book, grab a paragraph, grab a sentence. We're authors, we're very good at being creative, like taking that paragraph and spinning it into a social media thing. We're like, oh, this reminds me of this dream I had the other night. I mean, just anything. Like, we're authors, people expect us to be weird and creative and say random things.
So true.
Yeah,
I love it.
So lots of great ideas there. And I just really want to reemphasize again, all the different kinds of opportunities that come from books that you pointed out, because a lot of, authors and self-published authors and maybe that don't, have the entrepreneurial gene, or they don't think they do, or have their own business. It's just like, that doesn't mean that all of these same opportunities aren't available to you with a little chutzpah and a little creativity.
Oh, absolutely.
So of course, given the theme of this show, habits, tell me, Rachel, what are your best success habits, writing and otherwise?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say when I do this, there's the habits I execute and the habits I know I should execute on, right? So let me share the ones I know I should execute on, because life can certainly throw some curveballs sometimes. But I love to do planning on Sundays at some point, just kind of plan out the week. And I am very much a pen and paper person. I like to write things out, and I love to cross them out. Sometimes I even write something down that I've already done, just so I can get the feeling of a cross out. But anyway, I won't digress. One habit I learned actually 2 years ago from a coach that's been super helpful. I used to have these long lists of things I needed to do in a day, and then feel a little deflated when I didn't get to everything. And because I also manage a team of people, right? Again, there's a lot of unexpected things that happen in my day. This coach said, just write down the one thing you absolutely have to get done, and no more than 3 other things that are, also high priority, because you can pretty much get to 4 things in a day. And that has been working very, very, very well also. So daily, I'll make just kind of a quick checklist of like the prio thing and then a couple other supporting things. I read before I go to bed every night, usually something creative just to clear my mind. Otherwise, my mind keeps spinning on the day's events, what I need to do the next day and what went on that day. And then more recently, I have started eating really, really clean. I'd say it's about 4 weeks, and my body feels so much better. My head feels so much clearer, and it's really making a huge difference in my life.
I like that. And the eating thing and exercise and hydration and all the things that I've talked about that on a few episodes here. Some of my listeners know, because I have to remind us sometimes, because we're super smart authors that live in our heads, but there's a body attached to that. Yeah. So how you treat your body, that's going to impact your creative writing mind. So don't forget about that body you're carrying around underneath your head. Easy to forget, smarty pant writers that we are. So as I understand it, the best way for people to learn more about you and your work and to contact you is thebrandid.com.
Yes, you got it. I'm also on Facebook at Rachel Gogos, so you can message me or drop me a note there too.
Awesome. You're also, I think, in my Inc. authors group, which I always mention.
Yes.
So any questions about this interview, drop in. Ask Rachel your questions. There's another link I'm going to put in the show notes today, an interview I did with a librarian friend named Lauren Cleveland, because you mentioned authors getting their books in libraries, and Lauren, in her interview here on the show, offered a lot of great tips to do that. So all kinds of great things. Always check the show notes. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today, Rachel. This is so fun.
Thank you for having me, Christine.
Yeah. And I like, the things to do list. See, and Rachel and I are in a video call that you all don't get to see. Haha, it's just audio for all of you. But I have things to do, and it's even actually structured so that there's only 3 must get dones today, just to give you the hint that you're only probably going to be able to get to 3 must get dones. So I just want to show Rachel that.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Well, thank you again. And thank you, all of you listening, for joining us here on Your Daily Writing Habit, where I am helping you write and finish writing an awesome book. And like I mentioned, drop by my Inc. authors group on Facebook to connect with Rachel and other experts and other authors like yourselves. Until tomorrow, happy writing.